Ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-bam, bam, bam, bam. Ladies and gentlemen, before I do anything, before I take off my spectacles, I am going to bring on, because it's been forever since the last time we hung out, I'm going to start with the queen of the podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give it up. The queen is in the building. The queen is in the building.
What's up, guys? What's up, Slyso?
All good, can't complain. Season 2, episode 1. Whoever thought it was July this time last year?
Wow, time really does fly. And I was just like, when you said season 2, I was like, since it only in the first time.
28 locked episodes. And here we are. And of course, we're excited. Before we go on, before we do anything, we have, I don't even know how to introduce him, but like on the promo, I said he is a scholar. So which means that in the introduction, we're going to talk a little bit about that. He is a professional. We're going to talk a little bit about that. He is a budding entrepreneur as well. Extraordinaire in the building. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give it up for
Thank you. Welcome to myself.
What craziness is this?
Wow, I can't believe it. I cannot believe it. Season 2 is here and I am here, guys.
Yes,
wow.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah. Are you going to shoot first, Queen, or should I? Because we need to get to know these gents.
Yes, please do. Please get this started.
Well, very quickly, because there's a lot that he brings us. I mean, like, we know about the G20 and all of this fancy stuff he's going to bring us as far as, business is concerned in South Africa. His name is Billy Bokako. That's what I call him. BB.
Yeah. That's my name.
Yeah. Sir, good evening, man, and welcome to the Slyso Podcast.
Good evening, guys. Good evening, everyone. People will never believe the story. So, Slyso didn't know me until quite recently. But obviously, I've known him for a very long time, that I've even impersonated him.
This guy.
It's a crazy story. I'm not going to go into it today. But I want to say, sometimes, just do it. You never know. Now I'm here right next to him, isn't it? Right? Yeah, man. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah. Billy is a scholar. You love school. You love school.
Sometimes we do what we need to do, hey. And sometimes it is expected of you to get more knowledge, but to say I love school is a bit of a stretch. Am I a scholar? Aspiring scholar, maybe? Yeah, that I will take.
You're on your way. He's being too modest. How many master's degrees?
Not a lot. Not enough.
Oh wow, not enough.
Definitely not enough. There's a lot of knowledge out there.
Once you get to the master's level, then I guess we can say you are, somewhat of a nerd kind of scholar.
Maybe. I just love getting knowledge. I love, imparting knowledge. Yeah. I really believe in access. This is my big motto in life. I feel like we do not understand the value of access enough as people. And my thing is, in order for me to open up access to information and other things, I need to have that access myself,
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot of debate. Do we still need masters in 2025? When we can go on to short, pointed courses that seek to address a certain skills gap. There's a lot of that, but some of us, born, pre-94 have different understanding of these things.
Well, not giving out too much of your age, they believe.
93, 31st December.
Sure. Okay.
Okay.
So what is your if you can say what is your specialty? What are kind of like your competencies and skills that you're bringing that our viewers and just our friends here, friends of the podcast can get excited about.
Understand? Yeah, yeah. So I'm a very curious person. I think more than anything else, my curiosity puts me in spaces, right?
Mm,
An example of that, I studied engineering as my junior degree up until master's level.
okay.
And, but I did not see myself doing that for the longest time. And even when I did my master's, I had moved from hardcore engineering and
Okay.
pursued, spaces in business and all of that. Being so much, how do I put it, intrigued by the entrepreneurial process, the
Mm,
process of moving from nothing to something, which I think is a story of triumph, for all humans, because we all want to move from nothing to something. And that's how I found myself in this space where I am in enablement. I work with entrepreneurs. I'm an entrepreneur myself.
mm,
And yeah, so I think it's curiosity more than anything. With that, comes a lot of information, comes a lot of spaces that you want to immerse yourself in. So I'm very much, dynamic, and I think whatever is, and it will speak a lot when we get to the actual segment, when we talk to the entrepreneurial mind, those triggers, what are the right questions we need to be asking, and all of that. And so I find myself in a lot of different spaces because of that.
Wow.
mm.
Wow.
Okay.
Talk about a mouthful. So it's gonna be a very interesting one. But
Definitely.
look, to just not put you on the spot, because obviously the Biz Rep podcast, which is your segment, is going to be with us for the longest time ever.
Sure.
I think probably just for the viewer, obviously we're talking the mindset of an entrepreneur. I was trying to describe in the promos that we are not
Sure.
necessarily here to say this is where you go in order for you to get this, or you need to do
Hmm.
this, you need to do that. The most important thing out of the conversations that we've had off camera and the days leading up, it
Yeah.
is the fact that you need the right mindset. It's you
Yes.
can have
Yeah.
resources, you can have all of these things, access and
Sure.
all of these things, but if your mind is not in the right place, then you are as good as
True.
standing in one spot. Yeah, the G20 as well is also something that we're going to delve in as far as do
Sure.
you want to tell us a little bit, because I've been seeing you on social media. G20, Billy.
Yes.
G20, Billy. Just briefly, nothing that you're going to share on the actual segment. It's like what
Sure.
your involvement.
Yeah. So I think, as I said, I'm in the space of entrepreneurship development, right? And I think the business rep itself, if we go into what it is that I would like to bring to this platform, is obviously we want a wrap of business news, opportunities for entrepreneurs.
Mm, mm,
What is it that we should be focusing on? Stuff that we don't hear
Mm,
on the day to day, right?
yes.
But it so happens that I'm joining this wonderful platform in a very important year for South Africa, where we have the G20 presidency. So
Mm,
we are now addressing G20 presidents, because who is South Africa? All of us, right? And it's going to be important throughout, my different sessions in the platform, to bring updates on what is happening around G20. What are some of the opportunities? Where
mm.
are we, and what is happening? And I think it's one of the many themes that will be pulling through throughout my segment.
wow, very interesting. But getting back to any and everything that is happening throughout the world,
Yeah.
ladies and
Mm.
We have this story because I had to run. I literally had to, just for the viewers, I didn't even have time to put my makeup on and do my fancy
Because
stuff.
yeah, you leave the brand. Because you
Well,
leave.
it calls for it. I'll tell you what, Toto. The most beautiful thing about it, and to have like-minded people.
Mhm.
As I was driving back from Billy, I'm thinking to myself, this is entrepreneurship. This is us, like, solving a problem. And
Yes.
if anybody ever tells you that it is impossible, because it's a good 15 minutes, it's a good 15-minute drive, two and another 15, like, and I had like, a good 20, and it's high traffic in Pretoria at this point in time.
Yeah.
But as I was coming back, I'm telling myself that, like, never, ever, ever, ever accept anyone who tells you that it is
It is
impossible.
not possible. Yes.
Remember our texts, bills, before I left, and you were asking, are we still meeting? I'm like, I'm
Are
so
you going to
afraid.
make it?
Are you going to make it? And I'm like to myself, you know what? This is a challenge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And here I am looking all sorts of amazing,
Of
Look at
thanks to
course.
that.
him.
And I love the color of the back, the cushion, giving it
Oh
some
yes.
African,
Oh yes. Oh yes,
yeah,
definitely.
some
Pan
elegance.
Africanists over here. Hmm.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Yeah, yeah. We
the,
love we love we love the continent.
Viva
Amandla.
Azania, Amandla,
Avi, Amandla. Amandla.
Amandla. Guys,
Amandla.
yeah, we're just gonna touch on a few things, because I really would like for us to get into the feature, so people who are watching season 2 or watching us for the first time, that they can get a feel of what we are about as a podcast. We do touch on what's topical around the country and around the world as well. And we have dedicated features. And one of those features is brought to you by our resident psychologist, and that is none other than the Queen, Tobeka Msengana.
We.
Yeah, because all we want to do is work with the mentors. She
Yeah.
deals with the mental health of from I'd say from cradle to the grave, from young people, and she actually works with young people, and also bringing Billy in. It's things that sort of like answers for young people in South Africa.
Yeah.
You are the future. I think it was you, Bills, who was saying, talking about Mandela.
Yes.
We need a
Yes.
Mandela. We need one person who's gonna
I
be
really
bitten so much.
I think I want to bring tops to this, honestly.
Yeah, yeah.
I honestly feel like for every generation we need a Mandela, right? It's not in a political sense. It's not,
Okay.
for
Yeah.
and I was saying this to my nephew, right? They believe this whole thing that school is not necessary, you need certain skills, there's an alternate route to school. And I'm saying,
Yes.
listen, your mother and I, this is my nephew, your mother and I grew up in a generation where school was a means to an end, right?
Yeah.
School
Yeah.
was how, we know a lot of people who went to school and become successful than
Yeah.
we know people who did not go to school and become successful.
Mm.
So chances are you guys are going to have to be the Mandelas of this generation and prove to us, right? For your younger siblings, when they come
Yeah.
and say, I don't want to go to school, we say, hey, your brother did it,
Here's an
then you
alternative.
can,
Yeah.
I really feel like for every generation, there is a Mandela. And that's what the conversation was.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, ladies and gents, it's time for us to find out. Like, I did prep, but had to run. But obviously, it's just topical stuff before we get to the
Sure.
real issues. I think the first and utmost and out there is the 3 constables who were sent from Bloemfontein in the Free State. And they were heading to Limpopo, I think it was,
Yes.
to assist with the whole Zamazama, illegal mining, which is just another quagmire on its own. And obviously, their lives were cut short. And I think more than anything in getting everything, they are going to be honored. I mean, like, I drove for the past few days while they were busy digging up the bodies, while they were digging up the cars. You know, it was just traumatic. It was a disruption in the traffic and all of these things. But the one thing that kind of like disturbed me was the speculations that we put out there because we have data on our phones. I think for me, that was the most disturbing thing. I think it must be a challenge for the South African Police Service or whoever is investigating what happened. I don't know whether, you know, we can talk a bit about that, you know, just our attitude towards social media, not even necessarily this story, but in general.
Yeah, I think, you know, for me, when I lie and Billy, the important thing to note, and maybe just a message for our viewers and just people in general, is this idea that people must have opinions about issues that they don't have any clue about. I think is really reckless, you know, because we don't want to just sit back and wait and see how things play out and get the information. And get facts, in fact, you know, just get factual information about what happened. So we are so quick to jump on, as you say, Slyso, because we have Wi-Fi, we have, you know, data, we can just hop on social media and start speculating and start coming up with stories and some theories, you know, that are unfounded. And I think that's really reckless of us as social media users. To do, but also to I think it's just to also be mindful that, I mean, this is a story of abantu abasolekileyo, there are families behind this story, you know. So it's also triggering for them, I can imagine, you know, to hear all these kind of stories as they're trying to make sense of what has happened. There's so much noise. It's not giving the families, you know, just time to process and try to deal with the trauma in a contained manner. So I think Sienza West also, you know, trauma yabantu, we just exacerbated and make it to become something that is just like bigger than what it's supposed to be. And again, I think it's just there is an element of being reckless on social media and just ungakhathali, you know, about what you say. And maybe because there's no repercussions, I guess. People just say what they want to say, speculate, you know, about things, and and they don't think about there are families, you know, there are people that are hurt, that are grieving, that we need to be considerate of.
I think, I really, I want to touch, you know, on the sympathy, right, and the empathy that we are responsible to exercise just as humans, right? And that whole understanding that if I put myself in this person's shoes, would I appreciate this being done had this been my relative, right? And because what I'm about to say might sound insensitive, but
it's a podcast. You can say whatever the fuck you feel like.
I'm an entrepreneur.
Regulated, you know.
We're not regulated, which is our next story, by the way. I'm sorry to disturb you.
No problem. And my thing is, you know, we also need to be cognizant of the fact that people profit from misinformation. The more it trends, the more it's spicy and people lurch onto it, you know, clickbait and all of that. That's currency, you know. And hence I want to go back and agree with you, colleagues, you know, with you guys in terms of what we need to exercise as, you know, as users of the internet and social media. And at the core of it is the empathy part of it, because the rest of it is just monetization. You know, we can tell of many stories that not only the internet users were profiteering. I'm taken back to a story back in Gqeberha when Slyso, when there was a woman who was deemed lost, and then Unoktula, I remember the name, and then she reappeared. There was even a song, and you ask yourself, and this is the question I want to talk about later on. You ask yourself, who is profiteering? You know, who is making money out of that? So misinformation is a currency, and it also just begs of the user to be more
Yeah.
responsible. And we use these platforms, yes, to say to the creator community, just be responsible, be empathetic, and all
Yeah.
of that. But when it comes to that time that I've got this 12 rand data and I need to make the most of it because I don't know who's going to buy me bread tomorrow.
Wow.
There's economics, to this thing as well.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the data. What do you do with the data? I always shout and yell at entrepreneurs, guys. I'm like, you're busy looking at OnlyFans, you're looking at Pornhub, you're looking at all of these
Guys,
unnecessary
no,
things, and yet
no.
you
No.
need a solution
Not
at
my
the end of the
entrepreneur,
day.
not entrepreneurs. You can't say that about entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs are
Oh.
very frugal and responsible before they make it anyway. Okay. Leave it
Before they make
there. Leave it
Very
there.
interesting. I mean, like
Yeah.
you bring out a point about monetization. There's an interview. Jeffrey Hinton. He's a British Canadian computer scientist
Yeah,
who's deemed. I think he also won the Nobel Peace Prize.
sure.
He was being interviewed and around AI and it's good and bad.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And very interestingly for me, which was inspiring and which leaves us or makes us proud to be in spaces like this where we're sort of like leading, whether it's a podcast or
Yeah.
it's another means of solving problems using AI. I remember, Toto, you were going on I think that there's a course that you did that
Yeah.
had to deal with
Yeah.
AI in psychology. You know
Mm.
what I mean? And
Interesting.
one of the most interesting things that he said was that I think it went up. I think 2022 or between 2016 and 2023 or 24,
Yeah.
the rate of hackers or what you call it,
Mm.
people who bait people,
Mm.
crime went up by 300%. It's out here for the good if you want to talk about health, because the way he describes it is so beautiful.
Yeah.
He says that in the health sector, instead of having one doctor, because now you have AI that you can rely on, you are being diagnosed by 5 to 10 doctors,
Yeah.
Mm.
instead of getting one person's opinion.
Yeah.
And when he talks about school, he says that instead of your child having one tutor, with
Yeah.
AI, your child has 10 tutors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For me,
Yeah.
that was phenomenal, in another way of
Yeah.
looking at how AI can assist us more than us just using it to bait each other, to
Mm.
use it for all these things that do not benefit us as a country. And given the fact that, data in South Africa is not cheap at all.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I think I'll
Yeah.
leave it at that. It's an open-ended one.
Yes.
Yeah. But we do on the ticker at the bottom. I will let that story run because we don't have time to deal with it.
Yeah.
Where about the police constables. And another one, this is just of tabloid stuff. I don't know. I know that I didn't brief anybody about it. I'm just gonna put it on the tickers. It's a story that came out today. The celebrated Ace Ngobo being accused of I think it's 12 or 13 million that was given by a private donor, a private company under the auspices of assisting rural schools with development and stuff. And when I looked at it, I was like, yeah, it might be something that's neither here nor there. But when I read the story, you will read it in the ticker, some of the facts about it, and the fact that there was fraud that was done, in falsifying certificates or falsifying the members
Wow.
of this organization. So for me, it was
Wow.
just mind-boggling. It's a news story. I think it broke yesterday. We still sit here and
Jeez.
wait. Yeah, I don't know whether you have anything.
Wow.
Guys.
At this point, I'm just like, I mean, yeah.
I
We'll move
think
right
so.
along. Yeah.
I think, fraud is really sad. it's a sad reality that we have to live with, and you ask yourself many questions, around the reasons behind it. Because sometimes you look at the people who do the fraud and you're like, my guy, I think you could have done better. But I think we deserve an entire full episode to just look into maybe from your angle, Toto, the psychology behind fraud. And from my side, I'll look at the economics behind fraud, and maybe we can have, because it's crazy. The people that do fraud are people with access, and I go back to access again. They have access, but not necessarily access for them to do wrong. Yes, they do have that, but these are people who genuinely have something for themselves. They have access to some of the things that the rest of South Africans don't have. And I think we need to look at it more than just surface level, as just someone being silly. What exactly is it? Is it a culture that we have in South Africa? Have we defined our moral fiber as South Africans to be people who don't care for ethics, who are easily embroiled in these things? And I really mean, guys, just think about it. Maybe next time we'll talk about it.
But there it is, ladies and gents. We just keep skating through stuff and try to find out what's going on in the country and the world. And very interestingly, if you are interested in what's happening around the world, BB is in the building. Billy Bokako is going to, through his segment, is definitely going to be sharing what's happening with the G20. I know that a lot of people have a lot of questions. What is this thing going to do for us? Are we going to have people coming to stay in our places? If you remember 2010, and people fix their houses waiting for what does G20 really mean for the ordinary South African? And I think secondly for entrepreneurs, people who are really striving out there. So that's what's going to be happening. I think it's time for us to head over to Toto. We're over by 5 minutes, by the way. We should have been in your segment already. Can you believe that?
Okay.
It's nice to be here.
Right. If you do not, or you haven't subscribed, if you are new to it, you're catching us on season 2, first episode.
Please.
Welcome to the Slyso TV podcast. I have esteemed people that I respect, that I adore their minds and how they work, and it's going to be such a beautiful season. And of course, we're still saying to Uzizi, he's got 2 more months now. I think he's got 2 more months. He's on his sabbatical. We are hoping and praying that he really gets back to us, because we are missing that fun side of things, because now we could have been talking about the metros and
the entertainment side.
Seismic. Come through, man.
Come through, my brother. We love you and we miss you, man. I think it's time for us, ladies and gents, to head over to the Momo, which is the motivational moment brought to us. We didn't even ask what we're going to be talking about just before we get to the promo. What's in store?
You know what? The today is going to be a freestyle, but let's get to it. It's going to be a spontaneous kind of thinking from my side. It's not planned.
There it is, ladies and gents. We are freestyling up in here. Please, let's not forget all 3 of us. The cancellation of podcasts, we will have it towards both at the end of the show, after both segments have played. But for now, it's time for us to head over to the motivational moment with
Momo.
Yeah.
Give up on your dreams, don't give up on yourself. It can also be a developmental crisis issue. Keep pushing and stay the course. Bum, 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 bum. Hey, my beautiful people. Welcome to the Momo Sessions with your girl, Tops, the psychologist. See, some gala ubili, guys. So I got excited because we're getting a new member of the family, and of course we're excited to hear about his segment here again. And I didn't prep much for today's session, but I've been thinking, and there's been something that I've been thinking about a lot around motivation and motivational psychology, and the idea that people often think that in order to be motivated, they must wait for something to happen. So I wanna talk around that. I wanna talk about this idea that people, always refer to as motivation and non motivation, and the excuse, for the lack of a better word, excuse that they use to not get started in whatever that they want to do, in whatever that they planned to do. So you'll hear whether it's a student, whether it's an employee, whether it's an entrepreneur, starting a project, or you're supposed to be studying and writing that assignment, whatever it is, and you'll hear people when they are actually procrastinating or they are not doing what they're supposed to do, and they'll say, motivation. I'm waiting for motivation. And speaking as though motivation is something that will happen, or this miraculous, magic wand that will come and give you this motivation to get started. So I want to remind you, and I want to almost pick your brain a little bit, and give you a clear understanding of what motivation is and how it works really, and how our minds really work. So motivation only happens when you do something. You get motivated when you do something, right? What do I mean by that? You don't get motivated by just thinking about an idea, and wanting, to accomplish it. You actually get motivated by the process of doing. So if you, for example, had planned this year that you want to start gymming and you want to start taking care of your, your physical health and just your overall well-being, in order for you to get motivated to go to gym, you can't wait for a motivation. You actually have to get started. You have to go to gym. And when you go to gym, motivation will actually take place, right? Psychologically, something will get activated in your mind. Physiologically, something will get activated in your body. And then the more you do something, the more you are motivated, because now you're also unlocking your creativity. Your mind gets creative because now it's actually active. So the way that I see motivation, and the way that I want you to see motivation, is to think about it in a sense of imoto. Imoto, you have to start it in order for it to move. And you almost have to know where you want to go. And if you don't know where you are going, so you create a map, and now because we have smartphones and AI, we will just punch in the address on your maps, on your Google Maps, and it will give you the direction, right? So you will drive knowing, but you can't get to the destination without actually getting into the car, start the car, drive the car, and then start the journey, right? And then in the process of driving, as you can see where you are at, the kilometers, how far you are, and you will know if you're closer or not. But also in the journey, right? In the journey, you might come or you might experience some challenges. So if uthathu hambo, whether you're driving your car or you are actually, using public transport, kusenokwenzeka apha endleleni kubekho accident, and that will delay you. Kusenokwenzeka apha endleleni, imoto iqinge, that will delay you, and that will frustrate you depending on how, fast you wanted to get to that point, whether you were having an appointment, whatever the case may be. But the point that I'm trying to drive here is that there is no such thing as waiting to be motivated. You are just wasting time. You are actually robbing yourself of opportunities. You're robbing yourself of also seeing what you can do, proving to yourself what you can do. You are actually robbing yourself of actually realizing and actually just really self-actualizing and using your potential. You are wasting your potential by sitting and waiting for some motivation. You create motivation by actually doing things. And it's not the easy things that get you motivated, it's the hard things. It's when you are able to solve a problem that you had no idea about, as I solve on Johnny, but you got into that creativity, that creative mind, that analytical mind kicked in, and you were able to solve the problem. And so I want you, as well, Fairly Ekayeni, to start thinking about le business the fact that you've been wanting to go back to school and you are not applying, you are not making any effort, the fact that you want to improve your grades, the fact that you want to maybe start a side hustle, the fact that you've been wanting to do something outside, of your main, main job, but only there motivation. There is no motivation that you're working for. You should get started. And when you get started, then motivation will come because you actually create motivation. So your mind actually gets so excited by you being active, it starts activating creativity and you start having creative ideas. As what I was saying, on the way as you're driving, you have ideas now because you had a conversation with Upili, and that's how our mind works, and that's how the psychology of motivation really works. It's about you gotta start somewhere, you gotta start doing something, and if you start doing something that is not related to what you want to do, actually there's also psychology around. You don't have to start where you want to really start. You can just take a detour, but as long as you are active, your mind gets activated. And so the good hormones, the good feeling hormones start getting activated, and that's where your creativity comes. So sometimes you don't have to be so narrow-minded in the ideas that you have. Allow yourself to veer off, allow yourself to actually explore things that are not related to what you want to achieve, because it will take you back there. And that's why I like to use the idea of, using maps and the journey, because you can always reroute yourself out driver. Even if you can always, find another way around. Usiri will tell you, but look, take a U-turn or whatever. And that's the beauty of life. But you will not be able to reroute if you are not on the journey, you are not active, immortal, are you moving? And that for me is my story. And that's why I also like Slyso TV. I like so much the slogan, Ska, Nike. They just say, wanna just do it. It's a call to action. You can't wait. If you are, wanting to achieve things, you cannot sit and wait. You have to do it. Just do it. So whatever it is that you want to do, I can tell you now, I was more motivated until you do it. And that's my story today. And I'm sticking to it. And if you want to tell me something else, and if you want to fight me on this one, go on the comments there. Let me hear what your thoughts are. And hopefully I can get some good ideas also around what do you think actually is motivating you, what actually keeps you going, or what can you do to keep the motivation going if you are struggling. That's it.
That is her story, and she's sticking to it.
That's the story.
Wow.
Mm.
I don't even know where to start. I don't
Amazing.
even know where to start. I don't know, Bills.
I think Toto has just summarized my life
Right?
for the past 12 months, right? So the last time I went to school was 10 years ago. That's
Yeah.
when I did my last qualification. And this year I
That was
decided, because
2015.
yeah. So it's been since then. I was like, okay, I'm taking a break, right? But
Yeah.
I'm coming back. And then life just keeps getting in the way,
Yes. True.
And this year I was like, and there was an excuse. I was like, this year, bro, it's a big milestone. It's a big milestone. You can't be tainting your fun with school,
Yes.
Mm.
But I mean, I believe by that is hallelujah. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
I live by that. Procrastination must fall.
Yeah. Yeah.
Certainly must. Yeah, I think what part of what I picked up was around motivating yourself. Self-talk is extremely important. Like I
Yes.
was saying, as I was driving back, I'm like, if I am driving back and I'm actually going to make it in time for the podcast, nobody can tell me that it is impossible. It cannot be done
Yes.
because I
Yeah.
had only just had the conversation with Billy earlier on, and I was like,
Yeah.
it's doubtful that I'll make it. But I was like, you know what? Let's do this because what we want is this product on air as we
Yeah.
promised people.
Yeah.
I think that self-talk is important. If you,
Yeah.
I don't know who says it. If you tell yourself that you can, you probably can. If you tell yourself that you can't, you probably can't,
Yeah.
like type of thing. So self-talk is very important. I think that's one of the notes that I picked up from this particular one.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if we have any people that are here. We have
Yes.
at the bottom, Andy. Welcome to the new member. Looking forward to the new
Looking forward to it.
feature. Thank you so much. And who else is out there?
Usiyabonga
Mm.
is greeting us there as well. Buti Sukwini.
Molo
Yeah.
nokwindla.
That is it, Mituna.
Yeah.
Looking at the motivational moment, we bring this to you live so that you can actually interact with us. So that if you have
Yeah.
questions that you would like to ask, you can ask them live. And
Yeah.
I think the beauty about that is that you don't have to pay Utoto because she comes at a
For
price, ladies and
free.
gents. Yeah, she's free on the pause.
Access,
so
guys.
so
Access.
people
Yeah.
should really, really, really make use of her when she's on the
Take
platform
advantage of
and
me.
take advantage of her. And by
Advan-
the way, there it is, msenganatobega@gmail.com. She is a practicing psychologist. If you want to book a session with her, you actually can do that. And obviously, she works with young people. Which is, I think, one of the things that attracted me, to her mind. And I was
Yeah.
like, yeah, I need to have this lady. Oh, indlela
The
endanginqunga
future.
ngayo. Indlela endanginqunga ngayo, Bill. I was like, how am I going to approach? He's like, yeah, she's gonna ask for money. He's like, yeah, but the podcast is starting and we want to start the podcast with her. How are we going to break this down? But what a beautiful soul. What a
You'd be
beautiful soul.
surprised. You'd be surprised. That's one thing I've learned about, you know, having a passion and having a
Yeah.
cause, man.
Yeah.
Nothing can stop in front of
Mm.
you, especially when that cause is not self-serving. It's about other people. You have no idea how much positivity you bring and you attract, you know. Big
Mm.
ups, this is Toto.
Ooh. Well, it's time for somebody to mingle because we are heading over to his section of the podcast, and that is none other than Billy Bokako as we talk nothing but entrepreneurship, ladies and gentlemen. And obviously, we bring everybody in style. I think just us missing Uzizi, right?
Yeah.
Ish.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna do this. I think like for his followers, his fans,
Yeah.
and play his intro before I get to Billy's.
Sure,
Right?
let's do
Let's
that.
just say,
Yeah.
Zizi, we're out here, man.
We're
We're Yep, that is us. Wishing Uzizi well. He's on his
Yeah,
sabbatical.
man.
He's gonna be
Yeah.
out of action for 2 more months. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we will see what we do around that. But one thing that we cannot touch that guy is like super crazy about it's movies. We
He's
might get
amazing,
somebody
man.
to talk about
He's amazing.
music, but his movies, you
Yeah.
know, it's
So
crazy. This, yeah.
when I'm not studying, I watch anything he reviews. So yeah, and
Oh yeah.
I'm not
He will
big.
get you to go watch a movie as soon
Yep,
as you listen to
yep,
his review.
yep.
Like
He's
it's
that
like
good.
you just want to go and see this movie.
Yeah, he's that good.
He's
Yes.
super passionate.
Yes.
Usisa, just very quickly, I was friends with his bigger brothers, like growing up, like in the hood and all of that. And then they moved to Joburg, and then I was left with him. He was starting a job with one energy drink company at the time. He was also working at the business, the family business.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will not delve into that. But anyway, all the time when he'll be feeling tired or coming back from his excursions, professional excursions with the business, he would come. Yo, Stills, have you heard this song, nigga? Yo, listen to Kwali, bro. Like,
Yeah, that's
he's
it.
one
Oh,
person. We would take drives. I think at the time I lived in the Blue Water Bay. And then like we would drive from Blue Water Bay. There is a beach there, but we would travel all the way to Summerstrand. There's a spot we call right opposite the golf club. Bills, you would know,
Yes, yes, yes,
in Humewood.
yes.
mm,
There was a spot we termed it. I think that's where everybody goes now. We used to call it the Woodstock
The woods.
because that used to be our
mm.
place. Like we would go, and we would take these drives and go there, blaze up a little bit, like have fun and all of that, and then we'd drive back. It's Caesar and music. He doesn't stop talking. So it was a no-brainer not to have him to do the
Mm.
music review. But ladies and gentlemen, it's time for us
Time for
to head
our
over to this gent over here.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the inaugural Business Wrap, right? I know some of you know me from my podcast, Big Biz with Billy Bokako, where I'm very serious. I'm trying to be more cash this time and deliver you all the best news, the best opportunities there are in entrepreneurship and in the world of business around you in our country and around the world. Sisa started me off earlier on around the G20, and I think it's a common theme that we're going to be touching on, because as South Africans, we have the presidency of the G20 for the year 2025. And there'll be a lot of activity, a lot of events, and a lot of activations around the G20 in the country. And it's important that you plug in. Because guess what? G20 presidency means all of us here are presidents, right? You are a president and all of us are presidents because we are South Africa, right? But I think somebody at home might be asking themselves, what is the G20? We've heard about the EU, we've heard about the AU. What is the G20? So the G20 is an intergovernmental forum that consists of 19 sovereign countries. And by sovereign countries, we mean 19 countries that are self-ruling. And this is something that excites me, obviously, because of my age, maybe, the concept of sovereignty. And I think, myself and somebody my age might celebrate it differently to someone younger. And I think it's worth a little bit of, some conversation around what it means to be a sovereign country, but not today. So the aim of the G20 obviously is to address issues around international financial stability, climate change, and economic stability, sustainability. So if you look at the sustainable development goals, some of the things that the G20 is mandated to do are perfectly captured in there. The theme this year is around solidarity, equality, and sustainability. Right. And I think whilst we're talking about this, I want to start on an event that I was attending last week. I think 29th to 30th of April, we were in Gqeberha, where the Minister of Small Business Development, the Honorable Stella Ndabeni, and the Deputy Minister of the Department of Environment, Forestry and Fisheries, yes, hosted a session in Gqeberha. But I want us to go back to why Gqeberha specifically, or why the Eastern Cape is important for us to bring into this conversation. You will remember that the US has announced tariffs, import tariffs, where we export goods to them. They will, almost punitively, apply very high, tariffs for us to send our production to the US. And how does that become important specifically to the Eastern Cape? You will remember that the Eastern Cape houses one of the biggest hubs in the auto sector in East London and in Port Elizabeth. And it happens to be the OEMs that also, send their production to the United States. So there's been a lot of panic from the CEOs of the OEMs regarding these tariffs, as has been, mentioned by the Premier, Oscar Mabuyane. Also, the mayor in Port Elizabeth also touched into it as a pain point that needs, intervention. And what are we saying about this G20 launch in Port Elizabeth? There is a need around the diversification of what constitutes a revenue to Port Elizabeth, or sorry, to the Eastern Cape or Gqeberha. What is it? What is the mix of economic activities that are happening in the province to keep it afloat, right? And this conversation becomes more important now when we are looking at a looming or possible disturbance in the auto sector that has kept the province afloat for many years. And this brings us to things like, let's focus on, we have, the sea line or the coastline from, the Eastern Cape extends all the way from Imampontweni, Port St. John's, all the way to Tsitsikama, I think. And how much activity is there? So the conversation in Gqeberha was around how do we sustainably exploit the marine industries, not looking at the farming activity, which is the fish farming, small scale farming here and there, but also looking at some of the spin-off opportunities that are assigned to that, artisanal skills, the fixing and maintenance of boats, fishing boats, and all of that. That is all a huge basket of opportunities that exist for entrepreneurs in the Eastern Cape. It was quite a captivating, conversation to be part of. But what are some of the opportunities that we can look at, right, as entrepreneurs in the Eastern Cape, or as entrepreneurs, in fact, in the whole country? Now that we are all the presidents of the G20, we're looking at, things like exposure to international markets. So we need to participate as much as we can. I think it's called active citizenry. The G20 is not here for South Africa as what we draw on paper, but it's here for the people who live in South Africa. We need to benefit from foreign investment. We need to benefit from public procurement. So you as an entrepreneur there at home needs to always keep your ear on the ground in terms of what are some of the opportunities that are coming your way where the G20 is concerned. As I said, it is a conversation that we are constantly going to have, thematic, throughout the business rep segment. But I think this is my first business rep, and I always want to make this almost like a little ritual that you and I play as part of this segment. And I'm going to call it the Entrepreneurial Mind Corner, where you and I will sit and come up with nice mantras, right, that are set at assisting us with how we think, right? it is important. Entrepreneurs are said to be risk taking, they have to be innovative, creative, they have to be all of these things. But do we then say somebody who does not intuitively think like that is excluded as an entrepreneur? And this is what we need to do. What are some of the triggers that we need to think about in order for us to remain entrepreneurial? And this is what I want us to start doing. So, the first mantra for today, I think, has been a constant theme around some of the things that we talked about today, right? And I want you to say it with me. Chaos is my cornerstone. Can I hear you say it with me? Chaos is
Yes,
is
my
my cornerstone.
cornerstone.
Yeah. I know it sounds quite, nobody wants to associate themselves with chaos. But you know makes entrepreneurship thrive? Entrepreneurship comes during the moments of desperation, during the moments of complete chaos, when we're experiencing the most challenges. That's where the opportunities to be entrepreneurial, to innovate, come in, right? So next time, let me give you an example. In fact, before we move on to next time, think about what happened during COVID. COVID killed a lot of people. COVID was not nice. COVID was sad, to say the least. But there were people profiteering. People in pharmaceuticals, no doubt, were profiteering. But there were also people who woke up and decided, I've got a sewing machine at home. And masks are becoming a very important thing. And they started sewing, right? Next time you see people burning tires in the next street, next time you see people protesting, you as an entrepreneur, your role is to go and listen. What are these people crying about? Next time at home, you have an event and Umalume is complaining about how the cow ran away or the chicken that was supposed to be slaughtered ran. Think about, how can I make this not be a reality for other people having events? Because at that moment of chaos, people are looking for solutions. And this is where you come in as an entrepreneur. So chaos is your
Is
cornerstone.
my cornerstone.
Thanks.
I can sing now that Sisa is on a break. By the way, Billy, I'm not allowed to
We had
sing.
increased. We had agreed.
Really?
We were not allowed to sing because we can't sing. And you'll put it out
Wow.
Jeez,
there.
man.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
A
That's a lot. Yeah,
mouthful.
that's a lot of like nuggets for our viewers, aspiring, entrepreneurs or
Yeah, yeah,
entrepreneurs that are doing it already.
yeah.
I like that. I like that mantra of just thinking about chaos as an opportunity.
Sure.
I do think that as abantu that are in business or people that aspire to be in business and entrepreneurs, we always think like, shiny, beautiful,
Mm,
end product. We don't
Mm.
think process. We don't think,
yeah.
okay, things will be messy, and actually in psychology a mess is good, is encouraged,
Mhm.
that get into the mess, so that ties up a lot with psych, and how we encourage people to, in order for you to actually see the beauty and come up with something beautiful, you have
Sure.
to get into the mud, and then only then you'll be able to
Yeah.
figure out about, okay, how do you navigate and how do you come up with something. So I like that.
Yeah, I think true, Toto. I think today, as much as there wasn't really much talking about what we're going to be talking about, but I think, I
Yeah.
mean, looking at what you were saying in terms of procrastination and getting started, you
Yeah.
know, and now, where do you get started? What do you look at?
Yes.
Because nobody likes chaos. But
Yeah.
there's always a question. I think I grew up in a family with a lot of politically inclined people, and there'd be something would happen, and the first thing they would ask is, who is profiteering, and I'm like, how can you be thinking about that when that's chaos, that's mess. People
Yeah.
people are bleeding, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a different context, but there is always an opportunity to profiteer from chaos. Yeah.
I'm laughing
Sure.
so much because
Sure.
it's a story I tell everybody. I was like, when you were sharing about the fact that the last time that you started studying again now, before that it was what, 10 years ago?
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, with me it was can I say 15 years ago? No, hold
What
on,
was
hold on,
that?
hold on.
Say.
Okay, no. Guys, I
Another
did.
rule: we do
Personally,
I
not
did.
no,
we
no,
do
no.
not we do not even imply what our ages are going
I
forward.
did. I did a Udemy course. Shout out to them.
Shout out.
Yeah, yeah.
Because like all those years ago, given my ID, we did a web page design when there were still floppy disks. Okay.
Mm.
Come
Yeah.
on now. We're looking at your graphics. Come on now.
And there's the, and we have people that don't even know what that is.
But anyway, during COVID,
You're
so I was
speaking
like, I
ancient
want, I
language right
was,
now.
I was like,
Yeah.
I wanna start Slyso.co.za. And when I looked at what the data looks like, what the like everything like looks like for me to start a website in
Yeah.
during COVID, it was like, hell no, nigga, you can't. So
Mm.
yeah, I quickly Googled. I think at the time I have to say thank you very much to Kolisa Elita, counselor. Thank you so much. He brought his like, have you heard about Udemy? I was like, what the and then it's like, no, you can do like short courses, refresher courses. They've got
Mm.
like all kinds of things. So I
Yeah.
did that course, and then I was like thinking, so at least it wasn't like 15 years ago. It was like during COVID. Yeah. Before that, I'm remembering because I also want to send a shout out to the Soul Blackie Foundation at Rhodes University. I think after tumultuous time in my life, I was like, what am I going to do with myself? I was like, I've been working for
Mm.
almost 10 years. What am I going to do now? I had a little bit of money saved, and I went and did a course that cost me, I think, about between 10 and 15,000 rand
Yeah.
at the time. And then I looked at it, I was like, oh shit, I'm going broke. But like with all the knowledge that I had, and coming back to
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
importance of education, the importance of making
Yeah.
sure that
Yeah.
you do arm yourself with knowledge. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter what
Sure.
it is that you do. And
Yeah.
something that I always say that I live by, it's strangely enough, it's from music. It's a line from Snoop Dogg's song that says, learn enough to keep your sack right. You know
Mm.
what I mean? Learn enough to like when Billy says that like I did engineering and went up to to honors and all of that, and then I was like, no man, there's something I still want to do, because you
Yeah.
get to that point. It's like I'm a doctor now, I have a
Yeah.
surgery now, or I operate on people now. What's the next thing? You
Yeah.
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
Yeah.
so for me, this episode is just blowing my mind. I'm super excited. I'm sure it shows to everybody who's out there. And yeah, I talk too
We
much.
slayed it. We slayed, and we are actually right on time. I mean, not
For
bad.
real, I didn't
Not
even look
bad.
at the time.
1 hour, 3 minutes. Not bad. Not bad because we have a really bad rep when it comes to
Woo.
time. Not bad at all.
Should we take it and add another 7 minutes and talk about the regulation of podcasts, because that's
Yeah. Yeah.
what's come up as
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
with McG and yeah, I think it was Mini Dlamini and
Mm.
derogatory to an extent. I think if you
Yeah.
are values laden, obviously, I mean, like this is not a multi-choice roast,
No.
you know
Yeah. It's
um,
tiring and tasteless, man. You
and
know?
and tasteless as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, but for me, what grabbed me was the fact that like a lot of people were calling for him to be held before Parliament to go and answer or whatever
Okay, we
in a
have
country.
we have bigger problems. We really
We
have
got
bigger
bigger
problems.
problem.
Like
Bro, I
I was
mean,
just like,
thank
you know
you.
what?
Thank you. You
People
guys
can
said
just
it.
relax about that now. We have bigger issues to deal with.
Yeah.
I am known to be a moral compass of sorts. Obviously, only by my siblings, by the way. But
Yeah. You are the
but I,
holier than thou brother.
yeah. I'm that one. I'm that one. And my friends are like,
Did you just
oh,
fart in my presence?
yes. How
Where's
dare
your
you?
respect? How dare
How
you?
dare thou? How dare thou?
You were saying, Bills?
So I honestly think, the Minister of Women and Children coming on board, that's fine to say we denounce, this is
Yes.
bad. This is not how we live by as South Africans. But to actually summon a whole committee
Yeah.
to deal with McG, I
Mm,
find that to be a complete waste of our time. We really have a lot of things, man.
Yeah.
We really have a lot of things happening. We really have a lot of things that we can, dedicate our resources towards. I
Yes.
am not by any means demeaning what he did. It's tasteless. It's gross. There's no word to describe it.
mm,
We do not talk about women like that. We don't talk about, we don't talk about humans,
humans
Yeah.
like that.
in that light. But I really think, talking about the regulation of podcasts, do we need it? Yes, we do. You know, we do need it. We do need that. We understand that it's a space where we express ourselves, but
Yeah.
at what cost?
Yeah.
Mm,
Because it goes back to what I was saying around misinformation as well,
Mm.
being a currency.
Yeah.
And if we leave this thing unregulated, are we not opening up a currency for cruelty, a currency for
Mm. Yeah.
for all these other bad things that sort of eat away at our moral fiber as a society?
Yeah.
So I really do think that it is necessary. It also goes back, Slyso, to what you were saying around AI.
mm,
There's a lot of ethics that we have not, or ethical conversations that we have not gone into, where the internet, especially where the 4IR verticals are, which is
oh,
these new technologies coming up, and which AI is
Mm.
part of, and all of that. And unfortunately, some of these things only, we do knee-jerk reactions. We only react once things go, haywire, you
Yeah.
know. And I think we've seen a lot also with this, there's a lot with this mini content creation and podcasts, where I feel somewhere, somehow, they do, infringe on our basic human rights. And by me, I'm probably not going to be there, but somebody who's there, especially unknowingly, and they find themselves now exposed in a way.
Mm.
I really think it's a good call, but whether we need a parliamentary committee to, no, no.
yeah, I hold a different view, but it's all right.
Let's
Look,
hear
I
it.
mean,
yeah,
yeah.
look, I think where I'm concerned, and I think like it's been said for a while, the fact that like you already have rules and regulations and what is deemed a criminal act to an extent,
Mm. Yeah.
which is defaming somebody, or a business, or for that matter, we have those rules,
Yeah.
and I picked up from a couple of people who were talking about it, like who are high up. I'm not going to mention them because I would really love them to be part of our guests in unpacking the regulation, because it's a conversation obviously that is going to go on for quite some time.
Sure.
But mine, as far as that is concerned, is like, are you not infringing on a person's freedom of speech? And my whole thing with that is that freedom comes with a level of responsibility, right?
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
I remember, like my mind is everywhere as far as this is concerned. I remember at some point when there was a daily newspaper that came out, and it was like tabloidy.
Mm.
And I said at the time, I mean, like this was before 2010, I was saying that South Africa is very small
Hmm.
for it to have paparazzi, for it to have these unchecked um, um, stories that make it into the the public space,
Yeah.
and this was an entire tabloid, and so many stories that came from
Yeah.
there were proven to be untrue.
Yeah.
False.
So that level of responsibility, I would like to an extent to say that, like, our government has been slow in moving. As much as the president was campaigning around 4IR, which is the fourth industrial revolution.
Yeah.
But like I was saying, like, let there be labs. Elalini, if you're talking
Yeah.
4IR,
Sure.
let there be coders that come from Tanzania. These boys, instead of
Yes.
going to a tavern, they go into this little gym where they're gonna train men's boxing, and then from there, there's a tutor, as our coach around 4IR.
Hmm.
So these things did not happen. As far as I'm concerned, personally, and this is my personal opinion, is that the South African government, as you were saying, Bills, to an extent, we are
Sure.
so reactionary when it
Yeah.
comes to these things. You have to look at where the world is, because we are a third world country by
Yeah.
people's standards, So we need to understand, where are we? Have we
Yeah.
looked at the United States of America? Have we looked at other countries, that are leading in the podcast space?
Sure.
Have we looked whether they've got regulations or not? What do
Yeah.
those mean? I mean, like the cry that I heard from one of the highest offices is that yeah, there are rules, the person can be sued and all of that, but then igqwetha uzalifumana because it costs you,
Hmm.
that whole litigation and all of that.
Yes.
And
Yes.
it is the very same thing I ask about Vodacom. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? I know I'm flying all over the space. You
Ooh.
don't have regulation. You are always reactionary. You
Mm.
are saying that multi-choice is
Yeah.
eating up the public broadcaster space. But what were
Mm.
you doing throughout the time when
The
the world
time.
was evolving? Oh,
Yeah.
I talk too
True.
much. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. So around regulation, I mean, like, to end it off, for me,
Yeah.
regulation is not it.
No.
Mm.
My
Regulation is
thing
not
is
it.
with this thing, where my issue is, besides the regulation, it's also this taking a situation that and blowing it out of proportion, and then pushing a certain agenda, because I definitely think that there is another agenda that is being pushed besides
Yep.
now the conversation that took place with podcast. And for me, I hate that kind of engagement. I hate when we take something that was, it's an inappropriate comment, but to then
Mm.
say, like it's a GBV, that don't do that. Don't,
Mm.
because we have GBV
Yes.
cases that you don't do anything about. You don't come and like respond the same way.
And also,
So
you water down. You water
yes,
down the
so
gravity of the
don't come
GBV
now.
Mm.
Yes,
issue.
and then
Yes.
also it perpetuates, guys, this idea that can you celebrity ethile. So now it's Minnie Dlamini who's being,
Yep.
defamed. So now the government is going to respond and comment you to the
I
committee. But what
mean,
do you do when it's just
Aibo, what about
random?
me?
What about
when
a random
Slyso
person?
said something to me.
The
What did
double
I say? I
standard
say
for
a lot
me
of things,
is
guys.
is going to make me to just like let's go sleep. Let's just
Yeah.
go home.
Listen, I think my thing is we have the BBC SA, right? It comes from
Yeah.
somewhere. We could have the PPC SA, right? Podcast something
From
SA.
broadcasting.
You know, that sort of, because for me, this whole thing of let's wait for things to happen, then deal with them in court. I mean, it's
Yeah.
just not the way to go, right?
Mm.
Let there be not fear, but let there be some sort of understanding that if I do this, or if I say this, there's repercussions. Yeah,
Mm.
that's me.
Mm. Yeah, we're ventilating it, guys, and
Yeah.
I think we can talk forever. But it's a conversation that we are going to have. I have
Please.
a couple of people in mind that we will be inviting to actually just talk about it. Because for me, I think one of the I think like with this knee-jerk reaction you're talking about, Bills, it is to call podcasters, right?
Yeah.
And say we are not calling McG because there's one podcast I'd be a hater. It's got far more numbers than we do. But
Mm.
when I look at what they are about, you
Mm.
know,
Yes. Yeah.
if let's just assume that like somebody is doing pole dancing. Let's
Mm.
assume that somebody is going to start a podcast around pole dancing. Let's
Mm.
assume that like the language is going to be, defamatory, like derogatory.
Mm.
Let's assume that like the visuals are not going to be appealing. Let's assume that all of these things, for as long as it is not on television, on traditional media,
Yeah.
we can go with it.
Mm.
I don't really want to get into it because obviously we are, I mean, like, in the space, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
what you are perpetuating by saying that, fuck it, it's got to do with people that come from jail.
Yeah.
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 And you're like, yeah, what was it like? Itini nombolo yako, itini
Yeah.
all of that, and blah blah blah, and all of that.
Yeah.
What are you saying to young people? That's okay,
Yeah.
ndobana
Mm.
mawambu yejele, and
Yes.
then you come back with
That's my
numbers.
exactly.
That
That's
Mm.
my
gentleman
tip.
has numbers. I'm not a fucking hater.
Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
the podcast, the numbers, the business side of it to bits. But what are you saying to a young person in South
The
Africa?
content
Yes.
itself. What is
The
it
guests that
about?
you are bringing in.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
I'm so
yeah,
I'm so yeah.
you could bring in somebody from jail. Sorry, guys, I know we're out of time. You could bring some. I always like to be on the fence, but
I
you,
see.
you could bring someone from jail. But I think it goes back to exactly what you're saying, Toto. What is the message from
Yeah.
that? Are we
Yeah.
glorifying the fact that watati nombolo,
Yeah.
or is it a conversation that says this is your experience? We don't make
Yes.
light of it. We don't even
Yes.
diminish what you went
Yeah.
through. But
Let's
what
not
is it that
promote
we
what you
can
did
take? Yes, what can we
as
take
something to
from,
look.
you
Yeah.
know, yeah, one such podcast, my cousin, shout out Ulu Vuyongleki, Vovo in
Of
PE.
over in PE. Boo,
Yeah.
boo, 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 boo,
Yes,
boo.
using his experience,
Mm.
to uplift, and
Yeah.
that's his brand. His brand has always been built about where I went wrong and where I'm going.
Yeah.
Mm,
And that's the kind of citizenship that we want to promote to some
Yeah.
yeah,
degree. Yeah,
yeah. Conversations will never end.
yeah,
For as
no.
long as we've got data, we will bring positive conversations. We
Data
will speak.
yam, mali yam.
Idataya, malam sana,
Ungenaphi
malam.
bandithi?
Ngenaphi
Hey,
wena?
sunfoda. Sunfoda e-shopping mall ungakhange
So
ufumane
difficult.
imvume. Malam sana.
Malam.
Yo.
Second season,
Exactly.
first
Yeah.
episode of the Slyso TV podcast.
Boo, boo, boo,
Yes.
Guys,
boo.
I don't have any words. Anybody want to say?
Look, it was again another organic episode. Like I said, I was honest with you. I didn't plan a particular topic this time around because I just wanted to get to know Billy a little bit, have a feel of
Yeah.
our first episode, and how beautiful did our conversation flow,
Sure.
and just also the energy is just amazing, man. And we're talking about izinto that hopefully for me that I always say to Slice that young people can pick up, some nuggets
Mm,
that they can use to build something, to get inspired, to start thinking a certain way. And of course, we are just a tiny drop in this space of media
mm,
that they consume. And so I just always hope that in the consumption that they find this Slice of Podcast TV and they can also consume this kind of content, which will help them in whatever journey that they are trying
Yeah.
to, embark on in
Yeah.
their lives, in their professional lives, in their careers, in their, entrepreneurial business careers, and just be good people
Yeah. Yeah.
overall. So
yeah,
amazing.
yeah.
Yeah,
Bills?
man. I'm renewed, man. I'm refreshed. And I
Hallelujah.
will use this platform to say that I'm taking a break from the Big Biz podcast for this year. But when we come back next year, we'll be coming back brighter and bigger. It's really, as Utoto says, it's really been organic. It's been amazing. I'm feeling at home, guys. Thank you so much for having me here, and I look forward to this journey with you. Thanks.
Bills, I also look forward to. Like I know that like you are quite a private person. I know that you've got a lot that you do. Yes, you're going to be bringing us the G20 and all of that, the mindset of an entrepreneur.
Sure.
But like, I want to, we're going to be talking about what you are doing as an entrepreneur as well.
Sure. Yeah.
Because it is great. I think a lot of people are stuck in jobs where they like, I don't have a second hustle. Fuck it. I work for the South African Broadcasting Corporation. I produce content for a particular show. After that, I go and record adverts. After that, I try to build a podcast. After that, I try to be a husband. After that, I try to be a father. I try to be like, it's
Man. That's
time
the
for us.
one.
It's time for
Yeah.
us to stop this whole like, mtshana mama manje ngiyakubalisela qha ngikwazi. But guys, I hope everybody is feeling inspired wherever we are. I'm stupid. I've got two smart people that will call me off if I'm going off the rails. Guys, thank you so much.
Now to call you in order to say,
Yo.
no.
Stills, bro.
Point to the
Stills.
spot now. We're supposed to wrap it up. Let's wrap it up.
Yeah,
Family,
man.
thank you so much. Until the
Goodbye.
second
Until next
episode.
time, guys.
Yeah, man, guys. Yeah, man. Cheers.